an international team of scientists has made a stunning discovery. Buried beneath nearly a kilometer of ice, it's an impact crater.
Something is shifting deep inside the Earth, and scientists in Greenland just found the evidence. I am going to talk about the massive impact crater under the ice, reveal the secrets of the lost Norse colonies, and you won't believe the minerals hidden in the dark.
31 kilometers wide, much bigger than Washington, D.C., even bigger than Paris, and it's probably one of the youngest large impact craters on Earth.
Everyone is obsessed with the surface, but the real story is miles down in the bedrock. Basically, we are looking at a landscape that has stayed hidden for millions of years. This is not just about ice, it is about how our planet survives massive changes over time. Frozen secrets. Screaming from the bedrock. Scientists just made a huge breakthrough on February 25, 2026. They published a report in a big journal called Nature about a drill site at Summit Station. They went down 1,082 feet into the ice. What they found was a perfect record of the air from the last 1,100 years. This is a key detail because it shows how humans have changed the sky. They were looking for hydrogen, which is a gas people want to use for clean energy now. But get this. The ice cores showed huge spikes in hydrogen from when people started burning fossil fuels a long time ago. It is like a giant history book made of frozen water. While this was happening, another group of researchers found something even weirder. On February 2nd, they realized that melting ice is moving massive amounts of dirt into the ocean. These scientists from the University of Colorado looked at samples from 2019 and 2022. They found that icebergs carry 1/3 of all the sediment that leaves Greenland. This dirt is full of nutrients that feed tiny plants in the sea. This might sound like a good thing, but it is actually changing the whole ocean. What most people do not realize is that as the ice melts faster, more of this mud pours into the water. It can cause huge blooms of algae that mess with the carbon cycle. This is a major shift in how we understand the environment. There are still many rumors in the air about how fast the ice is going, but this data is hard to ignore. For starters, the ice is not just sitting there, it is moving and carrying the land with it into the deep blue sea. This process is speeding up every single year as the world gets warmer. It is not that simple, though. The ice is also moving on the inside. Scientists in Norway found that heat is rising from the bottom of the ice sheet. This causes the ice to churn and mix like boiling water. They call these things plumes. These plumes make the ice melt from the bottom up, which is something nobody expected to see on such a big scale. It makes the glaciers slide faster toward the coast. This is hands down one of the scariest things scientists have found lately. If the bottom is melting, the whole thing is much more unstable than we thought. Something even more shocking was found when they looked at the very bottom of the ice. Ancient heat boiling under the north. Scientists moved their focus to a place called Prudhoe Dome. On January 5, 2026, a team from the Green Drill Project shared some wild news. They drilled down 1,669 feet. When they hit the bottom, they found dirt that had seen the sun only 6,000 years ago. This is a huge deal because it means the center of Greenland was once totally free of ice. During a time called the Holocene thermal maximum, it was about 5 to 9 degrees warmer than it is today. People used to think the ice had been there for millions of years without stopping. But here is the catch. If it melted back then, it means the ice is very sensitive to heat. We are talking about a time when humans were already building cities in other parts of the world. Greenland was likely a green land with plants and soil. What many can confirm now is that the ice sheet can disappear much faster than the old computer models said. This is not just a guess anymore. The dirt they pulled up was tested using special lights to see when it was last outside. The results were clear. The ice was gone for a long time. This makes everyone wonder if it will happen again by the year 2100. If the ice melts, the ocean will rise by many feet and flood cities all over the world. But wait. It gets even more intense. Scientists are now looking at the minerals down there. Since the ice might be going away, some people want to start digging for oil and rare metals. There are reports that Greenland has 7,800,000,000 barrels of oil. It also has gas and materials we need for phones and cars. But drilling there is a total nightmare. The weather is brutal and the seasons are very short. Also, there was a ban on looking for oil in 2021, but with the world changing, those rules might not stay forever. The crazy part is that we are fighting over resources on a land that is literally falling apart. It is a race against time. The sediment at the bottom acts like grease, making the ice slide into the water even faster. But the most incredible discovery was not the mud, it was the ghosts of the past. Lost worlds hidden in the deep mud. Back in 2022, scientists found DNA that was 2 million years ago. This was the oldest DNA ever found on Earth. It showed that Greenland was once a forest with poplar trees and willow trees. And get this, there were mastodons roaming around. These were like giant elephants that lived in a forest paradise. This changes the whole story of how animals moved across the planet. Nobody expected to find traces of such big animals so far north. It means the Arctic was once a warm and friendly place for life. This discovery is a huge wow factor for anyone who studies history. It shows that the world we see today is just a tiny slice of time. Deep under the ice, there is a giant hole called the Hiawatha Crater. It is 19 miles wide. Scientists think a massive space rock hit Greenland a long time ago. This impact might have changed the weather for the whole world. It is like a scene from a movie, but it is real. Some people think this impact is what caused a huge cold snap that destroyed many ancient people. There are so many mysteries buried under the ice that we are just starting to understand. For example, there are lakes trapped under the glaciers that have been sealed off for millions of years. These lakes might have strange creatures that evolved all on their own. It is like finding an alien planet right here on Earth. Scientists are also looking at how the ice moved during the time of the Vikings. The Norse people lived in Greenland for 500 years and then they just vanished. People used to think they froze to death, but the new ice cores show that it was more complicated. The weather got weird and they could not farm anymore. They were isolated and the ice started to grow over their homes. It is a cautionary tale for us today. Even a small change in the weather can make a whole civilization disappear. We see the same thing in other places like the desert, where ancient people left their homes because the rain stopped. Greenland is a giant archive of all these failures and successes. The connections between the North and the South are starting to show a global pattern. Frozen warnings from a changing planet. On February 21, 2026, the way we look at our planet changed forever. A group of scientists in West Antarctica finished drilling the deepest hole ever made in that part of the world. They went down 1,700 feet through solid, heavy ice. Then they kept going another 700 feet into the rocky ground underneath. What they pulled up were rocks that are 23 million years old. These rocks are like a diary of the Earth's past, and they tell a scary story. They show that the Antarctic ice has disappeared and come back many times. It is the exact same thing we are seeing in Greenland. When the world gets just a little bit warmer, these giant ice sheets simply give up. This is a huge deal because it proves that both ends of the Earth are connected. What happens at the North Pole does not stay there. It hits the South Pole too. It is one big, global cycle that we are just starting to understand. One wild theory scientists are talking about is the binary radiator theory. Think of the Earth like a car engine. Most car engines have a radiator to keep them from overheating. Our planet has two, the North Pole and the South Pole. For thousands of years, they have worked together to keep the Earth's temperature just right. But now one of those radiators is starting to smoke and leak. When Greenland melts, the ocean currents change, which sends more heat down to Antarctica. It is like the Earth is losing its ability to stay cool. If both poles melt at the same time, the engine of our planet might hit a point where it cannot be fixed. We are not just looking at more water in the ocean, we are looking at a planet that has lost its cooling system. Now, another theory that sounds like science fiction is crustal snapping. Ice is incredibly heavy. The ice on Antarctica is miles thick in some places. That weight is so heavy that it actually pushes the Earth's crust down into the soft, hot mantle below. Imagine sitting on a big, soft cushion. Your weight makes a deep dent. Now, imagine if you suddenly jumped up. The cushion would spring back into its original shape. That is what is happening to the land under the ice. As the ice melts, the land is bouncing back up. But because the Earth's crust is made of rock, it does not bounce smoothly. It snaps. This snapping could trigger massive earthquakes and wake up volcanoes that have been asleep for millions of years. Some researchers believe that the Ring of Fire might get much more active because the weight of the ice is no longer holding the ground down. This brings us to the wobble effect. The Earth spins like a basketball on a player's finger. To spin perfectly, the weight has to be balanced. Right now, most of the Earth's extra weight is stuck at the top and bottom in the form of ice. As that ice melts into water, it moves toward the middle of the planet, the equator. This shift in weight is like moving the lead weights on a car tire. It makes the whole planet start to wobble. Even a tiny change in the Earth's tilt could change where the sun hits the ground. This would mean that places that used to be perfect for growing food might become deserts, and deserts might turn into forests. We are talking about a total rewrite of the world map. Humans have always felt that the ice was powerful, even before we had satellites and fancy drills. In Argentina, there is a famous glacier called Perito Moreno. It was named after Francisco Moreno, a man who explored the area in the 1870s. Local legends say the ice is a living thing with its own spirit. When the ice forms a dam across the water, the pressure builds up until it explodes. The sound is like 100 cannons going off at once. People call it nature's fury, and you can feel the ground shake for miles. These are not just stories, they are memories of how dangerous the ice can be. In the Alps of Europe, old records show that villagers used to have priests perform rituals to try to stop the glaciers from growing and swallowing their homes. They were terrified of the white giant coming down the mountain. In Iceland, the stories are even stranger. People there have talked for centuries about hidden people living inside the ice and rocks. While that sounds like a fairy tale, there might be a scientific reason for the myth. When ice is under a lot of pressure, or when it starts to melt rapidly, it creates strange noises. It can sound like whistling, screaming, or even low voices talking. Imagine being a farmer hundreds of years ago and hearing a voice coming from a giant wall of blue ice. You would think the ice was haunted too. Today, we know it is just air bubbles and shifting layers, but the fear remains the same. The ice is a power we cannot control or predict. What if the legends about lost cities under the ice are actually true? We are finding forests and giant animals where there should only be cold death. Does this mean our current world is just a temporary phase? Tell me what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries.